Welcome back to the Life of PHYS Podcast. I'm your host, Tyson Martin, and today is a moment I honestly never imagined when this journey started. Episode 100. 100 conversations with photographers, filmmakers, artists, athletes, and storytellers from around the world. Creators who remind us that behind every photograph is a human being chasing something deeper than just an image. The Life of PHYS has now been heard in over 80 countries and continues to grow because of this incredible community that believes creativity, storytelling, and the human connection still matter. And if you've been listening for a while, you know this podcast has always been about more than cameras. It's about people, it's about resilience, it's about purpose, and the stories that shape who we become. Before we jump into today's conversation, I want to mention something that's incredibly important to me. I recently launched the Photography Heals Your Soul Portrait Project, a project dedicated to photographing the creator behind the camera, the photographers, the filmmakers, and the artists who spend their lives pushing limits for everyone else but are rarely the ones standing in front of the lens. And if you believe in a mission of preserving the stories of creators and the connection between creativity and mental health, you can support the project through the GoFundMe link in the show notes. Every bit of support helps bring this project to life. Now let's talk about today's guest. For episode 100, I wanted somebody whose work who embodies the spirit of creativity and storytelling. Today's guest is Scott Evans, a photographer, filmmaker, and art director based in the Bay Area of California. Scott's work draws heavily from cinema, storytelling, and the visual language of classic Hollywood. Although he studied photography in college, Scott actually graduated from the University of California, Santa Barbara with a degree in English. And like many artists, his path wasn't a straight line. After college, he moved to Portland, Oregon, working in the restaurant industry while continuing to pursue photography in his free time. But the seeds of creativity were planted much earlier. As a kid, Scott was drawn to the world of film and storytelling. From blockbusters to westerns to detective fiction to classic cinema, the magic of the movie theater and the power of the visuals is all Scott needed. That cinematic influence eventually evolved into a fascination with fashion, glamour, and portraiture, where photography becomes a tool not just to document reality, but to create worlds and tell stories. Scott believes photography and motion pictures gives the artist the freedom to dream, the ability to willfully suspend disbelief, and show viewers a different way of seeing the world. His work has been influenced by some of the most iconic photographers of all time, including Helmut Newton, Irving Penn, and Richard Avedon, artists who helped define the visual language of portrait and fashion photography. This conversation is about storytelling, cinema, photography, and the creative path that artists follow when they commit to chasing their vision. So without further ado, this is episode 100 of the Life of PHYS Podcast with the one and only Scott Evans. And if this conversation resonates with you, please share it with someone who believes in the power of creativity and storytelling, because around here we believe in one thing above all else, and that's that photography truly heals your soul. Now let's get to the show.
So I'm Scott Evans, and I'm from Santa Cruz, California. This is actually where I grew up. So I spent some time, this is my stomping grounds. We were talking earlier about how bike riding and I do a lot of trail running and distance running now. But yeah, just playing up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I get poison oak every single summer. I come home like unrecognizable. They send me to the doctor's office. I get the steroid shots just so I could like see through my eyes again, kind of thing. And so, yeah, we can get into it in a bit, but I've traveled a bit around California, and I lived in Portland, Oregon for a few years. And
my hometown.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I grew up in Portland.
Okay, cool.
Well, Milwaukee.
Okay.
So outside of Portland in Clackamas County, the Clackamas Town Center. I remember when it was built.
That's cool.
I got robbed there for my skateboard.
Wait, so how were you were in Portland skating? I was just going to say you were. Okay.
So funny, sorry to cut you off there, but funny story. So my grandparents lived in Northeast Portland, just off Prescott Street. And the neighbor across the street, he had a skateboard and I had been kind of dabbling in it. And we were sitting there and the little sidewalk bumps. So we were trying to we were early grabbing into the grass. And I see this dude just pushing, and he's so fluid down the street. And all the driveways they were the bank, but they had the stair set in the middle so you could walk up it.
Yeah.
He's cruising through, he's carving the banks, and he pops the cleanest ollie over this stair set. And I was like, I'm doing this forever.
This is what I want to do. Yeah.
And that person was Danny Sargent. And Danny Sargent is a legend Danny Sargent. He moved to San Francisco a few years later, but I had talked to him at a contest, and I said, I don't know if you're going to remember, probably not, because you were like in your zone, but I have to say thank you for giving me the gift of skateboarding. And he was like, all right, dude.
Whatever, dude.
But
that's sick.
Yeah, I love Portland. I miss Portland. I'm looking forward to one day being able to spend a few months there again.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm trying to plan a trip out there in the next coming month or two to go visit one or two of my friends. I still have like a best friend that lives there. I worked in the restaurant industry for about 20 years. And so he and I met at this restaurant bartending. I started as a busser at this restaurant in Portland, moved there with my girlfriend, now wife. And I was making a killing in Santa Barbara bartending, just overly confident. And we cruise out there. She gets a job doing graphic design at her dream graphic design company. And she's like, I'm going to Portland. You can come, or, maybe this is it or whatever. So I chase her to Portland.
Straight, like, hey, you know what? Like, I don't care what you're thinking, but hey, I'm off to Portland. And if you don't want to come, peace.
we were done with college, and she's like, I want a city experience. I'm not sure if I want to do the East Coast, so I'm heading up north. So I chase her. We move up there, and I just I had a hard time finding a job in the restaurant industry there. It's a very tight knit and kind of who kind of spot. And it took me a minute. It took me about 6 months, actually. And I finally took a job at this restaurant as a busser. I've managed restaurants. I've managed bars. I was running a restaurant bar in Santa Barbara. And I took a busing job. I'm like, I'll take anything. Just could you get me in the door, please? Let me show you what I can do. And I think day two, they gave me a server position. I had a full schedule by day two. And I think within 2 weeks, I was weekend bartender. And then within 3 months, I was managing the restaurant. I just needed to get my foot in the door somewhere.
It's crazy how that works.
Yeah.
So when my first marriage ended, I had a career. I was making 6 figures, living the life. I came home on a Friday. We were supposed to go for dinner, to a text message saying, hey, I don't want to be married anymore. I don't want the bills, the house, or the kids. See you later. What? So I went in on Monday and quit my job because I had to be home because I was so busy. I was working crazy hours.
Okay.
So I quit my job and walked into a bicycle shop. I haven't worked in a bicycle shop since I was a teenager. And I was like, I connected with actually PHYS, my best friend Ryan out of Alberta. Him and I started PHYS as a bike brand years ago. So that's why PHYS is so important. That's why I continue to use it. He was the manager of the store. So we became best friends quickly. But they're like, hey, you can be a bike builder. I was like, awesome. That sounds great. And I'm like, okay, how much does it pay? $13 an hour. Well, I need a job. Okay. And so I built a bike and handed it to their head mechanic, and he looked it over. He's like, I'm super picky. And he was like, have you done this before? And I said, yeah, a little bit. I traveled as a mechanic for a race team for 5 years. He's like, oh, you're hired. I'm like, I know I'm hired. I was already hired. He's like, no. Like, you're $25 an hour. You're full time. Like, we're doing this. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like, hey, I can make some money. But the struggle, man, you got to get your foot in the door.
Yep.
And so I couldn't even imagine a new city. Like, I at least lived here for 10 years at that point.
Right, exactly. Yes, it's hard getting in, but once I did, we kind of made those bonds, and so that story spawned from just looking forward to going back to Portland, and I keep in touch with some friends there. In fact, I talked with one this morning, and it's changed. I don't know if you've heard much, just after COVID and how everything it hit that city pretty hard, and downtown's still hurting. But
so I've got some really good friends there still. My friend Ryan, he goes by Portrait Project 17 on Instagram. Definitely look him up. He deals with a lot of people saying he's taking advantage of the underprivileged there, but he actually has personal relationships with every single person. He talks to them. He walks those streets. He carries Narcan. He creates this environment. But yeah, my wife wanted to go. Funny because we came back from Portland 2 days before I ended up in the hospital, or 3 days before I ended up in the hospital. We had just done the Oregon coast. I took her to where I grew up along the coast. And on our way back, I stopped in Milwaukee because my friends own a little shop there. If you do make it into Milwaukee, it's called Made in Milwaukee.
Okay.
All local Oregon artists in this little shop. It's super cool. My stickers are in there. Like also, it's just a neat little shop. But she wanted to see downtown, and I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like I used to go downtown at 12 years old by myself and skate all day long. And then I went down and we ended up in Chinatown, and I was just like, whoa, what happened to my city? And I mean, if you know anything about Vancouver and you know anything about East Hastings Street here in Vancouver, it is tent city for blocks on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And that's because this place is ridiculous. Financially, this place is insane. You look at a house from 1970 in Vancouver, it's $4.2 million.
Wow. You gotta be kidding.
No, like my house is a teardown, and I'm 45 minutes from Vancouver. If I sold it, I mean, I just did a whole reno, but if I sold it, it's a teardown. But it's 1.7 million.
Wow.
And I'm like, if I didn't get this house 12 years ago, I wouldn't be in a house. I'd be living in a van with my kids.
Right.
Because even though I make good money, there's no way people can afford to live here anymore. And I know that's everywhere. Even Portland's ridiculous now.
Santa Cruz, the Bay Area too. Yeah, affordability is definitely a big deal. It's tough.
Yeah.
But
so working in restaurants in Portland.
Yeah, working. I started bartending when to be honest, I had a fake ID, and I was working in a restaurant. My first job was at 15 years old. I got a busing job, and they started me on a brunch shift at this like kind of bougie resort. And I was pumped to get in. They're like, show up at 5:30 or whatever. We start setting up, and I worked an 18-hour shift that day. They're like, can you stay for dinner? Can you work the dinner shift too? I was like, hell yeah. I bled through my socks. They fed me 3 square meals that day. I got to meet cool people, and I walked home with cash in my hand. And I was like, I'm hooked. This is like the coolest thing ever. And I stayed at that place for off and on over the course of about 7 or 8 years, and got to know the crew, the general manager, chef de cuisine. And I had a fake ID, and they knew that. And they're like, is it good? I was like, yeah, it's good. And I was bar backing at 18, and they got me I was bartending by 20. So I was doing that. I won't say what that was, but I was an underage bartender. Very responsible. It was great. It was a privilege. And that's kind of where I went from there. It paid my way through college. I bartended through college in UC Santa Barbara, which was sick because I could make rent in a weekend.
Nice.
Just 2 shifts, maybe 3, and I covered my rent. And at that time I was already really into photography. I had that's another story, but I'd really gotten into it at that point. And I was really into I had that gear syndrome. I was trying to figure out what camera summarized Scott, and I'm playing with Nikons and Canons, and this is before digital, right? So the Nikon F1 and whatever the Canon flagship was, you had those little cutouts from the magazines, and you stuck them in your transparent binder at college just to remind you of that cool thing you could maybe get one day.
Yeah.
And this is when eBay charged a fraction of a percentage for a transaction. And so I was slinging camera gear on eBay and making money. I'd buy it for pennies on the dollar. I'd find deals, maybe a listing that was suffering, and then sell it later as I built a reputation as an eBay seller. And so that's how I kind of accumulated my camera gear. And at one point I was like, wow, I got enough gear to actually get a Leica. I'd always wanted one.
Nice.
So I sold my stuff and walked into the Sammy's Camera in Santa Barbara, and I bought a Leica M7. That was they had the M6 TTL, the MP, and the M7 at the time, and I was freaking hooked. It was so fun to shoot with that camera. So anyways, that's kind of how I got into it, was in college, playing around.
I think that's how we all do it. We all have these dreams. I mean, I'm pretty new, so photography for me started in 2019. Um, just, I guess, heavily started in 2019. That's where it became my focus.
Mm-hmm.
I'd dabbled and shot some stuff in years prior, but I've been through the gamut with gear too, from food. Like I started, my first real camera was an X-T3. So 2019.
Yeah.
And then, I've moved through the gamut and done the same thing, and Leicas are amazing. And I'm thoroughly convinced that I need one, and it's just a matter of time. But at this moment, I'm super content shooting on the Nikon system. The ZF has been amazing for me.
That's cool.
And this is about as much gear as we're going to talk today. But I did get my dream as far as Nikon goes, so it's right here.
Oh, shoot. Look at that thing.
So I got the Z9.
That's gorgeous.
This is one of the things Charles does. He does red cherry accent rings for lenses.
Okay, cool.
So he did that for me that's just a 28 with a little ring. So
yeah,
it's kind of just a little addition to make it look a little bit more bougie.
That's rad. That's my favorite focal length. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably cut this part out because it's too much gear, but I actually just about sold everything but the Z9 to buy a 10-year-old Leica Q. But
okay.
I just don't want to. I want to invest in that system, but more current. Even though everybody's like, the Q's awesome, it's real hard to get rid of a camera like the ZF. That is so good.
Yeah.
For a 10-year-old camera.
It just kind of depends on workflow and stuff. I'm working on actually a YouTube episode at some point to discuss this. No one's going to want to watch it because I'm not actually talking about gear. People on YouTube want to watch gear and how it's going to work for them. That's the philosophical stuff is not as sexy, but I like talking about it and I think it's really important. And I'm going to continue to try to engage, hopefully, or find audience that wants to hear more about that kind of stuff. But when we talk gear, and I don't really feel like this is a gear conversation, it's more like, I really don't care. Bells and whistles are fun. It's more about just like something that works for you. If I can oversimplify it, it's not about any camera really will do. It's a light, tight box with a recording medium, whether it's film or whatever else. And the conversation I kind of want to have on with that episode is more about like, because I still shoot film. And I do not, Instagram is kind of you kind of have to do it to just kind of socialize a little bit, but it's like not where I want to show my portfolio. My images do not show well actually on that. They need to be seen a little bit bigger. I like printing big.
Yeah.
And the conversation is more like, I will never share. Sometimes I'll post, okay, this was shot on film or whatever, because people like those details. I really don't care. It's really more about like, it was fun. It made me feel a certain way to photograph in a certain way or interact with the subjects in that certain way. Maybe just loading a roll of film in a camera just got me out the door for whatever that reason is.
Yep.
But it's not that I have something to prove. And that's where I have a hard time with, you see these posts that are like, it was shot on film. I'm like, I don't care that the shot sucks. To be honest, it doesn't do anything for me. It didn't move me. I don't care whether it was shot on film or, a Nintendo or your iPhone. I don't care.
Do you remember the Game Boy camera?
Yeah.
Did you ever play with that?
That was the reference of it. I never got to play with it, but I've seen some stuff with it. And again, it's just another way to kind of express yourself. It's another tool.
Yeah, I agree. And I've shot, some of my favorite shots are on a Nikon D3000. I've taken shots on my iPhone that legitimately I have sold more prints off of than on my big professional setup. And the reason that I don't care is because I'm still capturing no matter what I'm doing. I could be capturing with a concrete block, a hammer, and a chisel.
Yeah.
I'm still visually making what I wanted to see. And I don't shoot for other people. I shoot for me. My stuff can either be very dark, moody, or it's super vibrant. It's whatever I feel for that moment. And
exactly.
I get a lot of people that are like, oh, that's not realistic. I don't give a shit.
That's
what I felt. That's what I felt in that moment. And this is art. I'm an artist, not a photographer. I'm an artist. And that's where I want to show that my medium is much bigger than just clicking a photo and, going to Photoshop and Lightroom and editing perfect to, natural. I don't really shoot a lot of portrait, so that's where this project that's coming in is going to be way outside my comfort zone.
Yeah, that's going to be great though. I love that, and the juxtaposition of in front of and behind the camera of the artist.
Yeah.
And it's almost it's not quite the right word. Palimpsest is the word that comes to my mind. It's you've got layers where there's another narrative in between those two things, and the fact that you're putting those two together. That's the interaction between the portrait of the photographer, in behind the camera, and then the art that they made as well, and how those two images will interact. I'm really excited to see what you do with this.
Well, good, because you'll be part of it when I come through your area. So
cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It's going to be fun, and there'll be a lot, because I know, I look at your portrait work and the work you do with people, and it freaking inspires the hell out of me, because that to me is the hardest thing for me to understand when I shoot a photo. And as someone who, when I started, I got lucky and noticed quickly. So people started buying my prints quick. And then me always wanting to push myself to the next level, I shoot people and I'm like, oh, wow, that looks great. So it's this new challenge. So I'm really looking forward to pushing myself out of my comfort zones, because if I could just walk the street and capture people, like I love those, like Velvet Alfredo. When I had him on, I was so stoked to just go out and shoot people and have these interactions and talk to people. And that's what I'd love to do on a daily basis. Just walk the streets, talk to people, shoot their photo, and just have a good day.
Yeah. That's best way to put it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I share that philosophy.
Go ahead.
So I was going to say that I share that philosophy, and it's kind of something that is really important to think about with portrait photography. And this can relate to photographing your family to a stranger, it does not matter. When I throw a camera on my shoulder, and I do a lot of street photography, I don't share much of it. It's just it's kind of like getting your workout in or your reps in. I just want to stay nimble and very comfortable with whatever camera system I'm using, and be very fluid with communicating my artistic or visual eye with what I'm, how making that all work, right? So I go and I decompress a lot from work. It's how I transition from a stressful day job to coming home. And so I'll go walk and shoot for a little bit, and I sometimes use a 10-year-old Ricoh GR2 point and shoot. Sometimes
Nice.
sometimes another camera will come on. It doesn't matter. And the photo is like, if you've ever trained for racing and riding, the workout is that's what you do, is the training. That's what you live for. And then the race is kind of dessert. If you get to do it, cool. The results don't matter because you've already done the work. And if I get the photo, great. But what I'm actually looking and trying to do is see the world with curiosity, just complete, intense, uninhibited curiosity. And so when I'm making a portrait or meeting someone on the street, I'm not going to try to take their picture. It's actually not the primary goal. I'm actually just introducing myself, and I'd like to hear who they are. What's their name? Do they have relatives? Are they from here? Why did they pick out those pants, and what are they doing later? I'm just really interested in getting to know someone. And then a photo might become a result of that. But I rarely will even introduce the camera. It's hopefully on my shoulder, behind my back, or in my pocket, because it's not the first thing that I'm trying to get. And that's where I feel like, at least for me, that word capture is tough for me to say. It kind of ruffles my feathers a little bit, because like you mentioned earlier in a conversation, you're talking about another bud who does some street photography, and you're like, he actually knows everyone, that he, like, some of the unhoused people on the streets, he knows them all and is connected with them. And that's different than making an image and then somehow taking advantage or doing that in some other way to your benefit, and not even knowing who the individual was that you maybe clicked. And sometimes that happens. There's candids and stuff like that happens, but I'm rambling now at this point. Yeah.
But no, man, it's a thing too. Like, when I spoke to Ryan in Portland and started to hear his story on why and how it's important to give these people like if you give them 2 minutes of your time, could be the best part of their whole day. And then you become friends with them, and then you see them. And he shared somebody that he has a photo partner that he shoots with. Her name's Tara. She goes by Ghost Portland. And like, I watch their Instagrams and I'm just like blown away by how much they care. They're bringing clothes, they're bringing food, they're celebrating birthdays with them. Like, exactly. This is a different level of what you don't normally see.
They clearly it's important for them to connect with the community, and that's what they're doing. It's something that brings them joy. It's not just clicking a photo, and that's really cool.
Another person I grew up with in Portland, his name's Ben Tobin. He goes by Capturing Spokane. He's now in Spokane. He does the same thing, and he's friends with Ryan and Tara from Portland. So all three of them were doing it, but Ben does it in Spokane. They do Portland, and it just shows a different side of it. And you hear them talk about it, and as soon as they start talking about it, you can feel what it means. Right. So I agree, man. Like, there's so many people out there, they're going to take advantage of somebody who is having a really bad day. And that's not what anybody needs, especially in those situations. It's about getting to know people and capturing it. Everybody gets more comfortable once you get to know them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly. And doing portraiture, that's the art of, depending on how much time you have and what the project is how can you kind of break down those walls, those barriers, and then connect with that individual to get that look or the image that you intended on making.
Yep, exactly. And that's what's so good about this medium. I mean, when did you realize that taking portraiture is like something that you really, really enjoyed?
So that was kind of from the get-go. I had so the story of my everyone's got their photography story. Let me give you mine. So I picked up a camera when I had a chance to go to Cuba, and I was 21. So what am I? I'm almost 46 now. So this is 2000, some time ago, man. Wow. And I used to teach scuba diving, and there was this group of photographers. We couldn't go to Cuba. It was inaccessible. And they got some kind of like hall pass to go. And they were doing some underwater photography. They're on a live aboard dive boat for a week. And they're like, we need a dive master. We need a couple people to come with. So me and another dive master guy got booked, and they're just like, we're not paying you. We'll cover everything. We'll fly you to Cuba, put you up on a live aboard dive boat. And we're like, this is awesome. I'd never had an experience like that. So I borrow a friend's camera, and it's like a POS kit Canon camera with like it didn't matter. It was a film camera, and I brought that with about, I think, 15 rolls of film. And I shot all that I could throughout Cuba because I know, just as a bartender, I just had the memory of a goldfish. I could swim to the other side of the tank and just not remember where I came from. And so I relied on photographs to kind of contextualize my place and experience in life at that time. It literally, the photographs, this is why I photograph. It helps me relate to the world and understand myself more and connect with people. And so I brought that camera. I was always been an artist, wrote poetry and a lot of other, did a bunch of art as a kid. And I found that photography just really connected and resonated with me. After I came back from that trip, I came back with photos that I was really kind of excited about. And I didn't know it, but I was doing street photography basically every day, smoking a Cuban cigar and walking the streets. And that was it. I was hooked at that point. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. That's kind of how I got into it all.
That's incredible, man. I've not had that exact kind of, hey, this is where I'm getting into it. Mine was more, hey, Dad, I'm moving to Mexico to work at a resort. What? Okay. My daughter goes, I just need some extra money. You want to buy this camera back? I had bought it for her high school photo course. My daughter is an incredible photographer. She is. I just, now that her boys are getting older, I'm hoping she jumps back into it because she has that eye. She does fashion. She does portrait stuff. then I'm just blown away. Like, she's just so talented. And I'm not just saying that because I'm her dad, but I really hope she jumps back in because she motivated me to pick up a camera. She's the one who gave me the opportunity to learn what long exposure water was. And that's what set it off. I had months of trying to capture this little stream by my house, and it sucked. And the first time I got water to look like it was milky and moving, nothing else was in focus, but I did it, and it's hanging on my wall over here. And it just, it's the reminder, right? It's like, that's where I started to where I am now. And you just remember the moments. And that's something that I didn't remember growing up because my childhood was not the greatest. And when my dad died, even though I was like just reconnected with him after not talking to him for 10 years, now at 51 and being a dad to way too many kids, I have 6. I wish I would have heard more of his stories.
Yeah.
I wish I would have been able to listen more and understand what he was going through with his military stories and all of that. Whereas now, like, I'm hoping to leave a platform where my kids and my grandkids can listen back and be like, oh man, he had a lot on his plate. I didn't realize that. He never let that affect us. You know, right. He worked hard. I'm going to work hard. And that's all you can ask for. You know, but I want to leave a body of work that inspires my family to keep moving and keep trying, even when they get older and they don't think they can handle it. You know, like 48 and jumping in with 2 feet into a podcast where you have no clue what's going to happen.
It's so cool. Yeah. It sounds like you're already doing it. And that's amazing. Yeah. Did you ever, find any photographs from your dad's house later that might help you piece together some of those stories you never heard?
When my parents split, my dad was so mad about himself. I see it now and understand PTSD a little better. He had some pretty traumatic things through Vietnam.
Sure.
And he took every photo book, every memory, everything, and threw it in a shed that had a hole in the roof. So everything that I found when I had to clean his house out was destroyed. But in his house, I did find some of his old military photos, like his Marine Corps book, his Marine Corps uniform, his medals, things like that he was always so proud of.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I've got some, but I don't have the history. I don't have the story to share with it. Right. And that's the part that really bugs me.
Yeah, that's tough. And I don't know, maybe you've got some of his like colleagues or friends or anyone that's still around that you could bother about that. But I remember I heard you shared that story in a previous episode and had talked about that falling out. And I thought it was pretty special that you, at least counting your blessings, you were able to kind of at least reconnect a bit and kind of bring peace at least to that chapter in your life before, he left.
It was tough, man. It was really tough to not have your father in your life for 10 years.
Yeah.
It was really tough when, being a 15 or 16-year-old kid and him saying, hey, I'm coming to Vancouver. Meet me here. I'm staying at this hotel. Okay. And I didn't have a car, so my mom would drive me in, and she lived half an hour away, and then she'd drop me off and leave. And this is pre-cell phone. I'd go and say, hey, my dad checked in, and they'd be like, no, he never showed up. And then I'd have to sit there and call my mom at home and leave a voicemail and then wait for her to get home, then turn around and drive right back. And it just started doing all these really weird things that really weren't him. What really set it off was I went to a hockey game, like Vancouver Canucks game in the playoffs. And I was walking through the arena and I looked over and there was my dad. And I was like, you live in Oregon. What are you doing here? And he's like, oh, yeah, I met this girl up here, so I came up to take her to a hockey game. And I was like, interesting. You'll come up to do this, but you'll tell me you're coming and not show up. I was like,
Right.
whatever. Well, have fun. And walked away. And then I went to visit him, and then we got in a big full-on brawl, fist fight. And that was it. I was like, I'm never talking to you again. It was
Yeah.
10 years, and I finally sucked up my own pride and hopped in the car with my then wife and daughter and drove down and surprised them. But yeah, man, it's the world's weird.
It's hard to do. Yeah, it's weird how everything works out like that.
Yeah. And like us talking before, realizing how much we have in common.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about this show is it doesn't even matter that we both love photography and are shooting it, but as people, we're like, dang, man, like we've got a ton in common. And that's what I love. I love building the friendship with the people that come on the show. So, it's such a great experience.
No, you're gonna come in and visit Santa Cruz, hit me up. We're gonna do a barbecue.
Heck yeah, man.
We'll share some more stories.
For sure.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, man. So you've been around portraits your whole time. You've gone, but you're still a working man. You still work full time while doing this.
I do right now. I'm trying to kind of get out of the rat race, If I could do photography full time again, I would. I've got a family. I've got a stepdaughter that's 15 and a daughter that's 6. And we keep it pretty humble here, keep it pretty simple. Santa Cruz isn't cheap to live in. And, my wife works 2 jobs and I work 2 jobs. I do photography and my other day job. So that's where we're at right now. But, we've got some goals of making some changes to that. And I just do the hustle. I love it. It does not tire me out. I mean, I need to sleep, and creatively you do need to take your breaks every once in a while, but I am fired up anytime there's an excuse to go pick up a camera and go have an adventure, So yeah, I'm doing all that. And I've always done portraits, I was I am a very outgoing introvert. I really enjoy being alone. I'll go for a 4-hour, trail run. I'll go get on my bike and ride for a bunch of, long time. I really don't do that as much anymore because I miss hanging out with my family, and that time is limited given how much we work now. But that was my MO, right? I used to rock climb. I used to compete rock climbing too, do all that kind of stuff. And I just get out in nature and just go zone out in nature and recharge, right? And I thought I was going to get into nature and landscape and outdoor photography. But I always wanted to be at the top. I wanted to be that guy that just did all that cool stuff that showed up on National Geographic or all those magazines that you check out. It was so amazing. And what I realized is I didn't want to sit in a freaking jungle with my armpits and my ass wet for 2 days straight trying to get that one picture and your gear failing and nothing working out. I would love the adventure, but I didn't have that grit to photograph at that level. It didn't mean I didn't love landscape and outdoor photography. And in fact, I still do that. There's nothing really off the table for me with that. And after spending a lot of time alone and doing all these adventures, I realized that why am I trying to get away from people so much all the time? That's what we are, is what humans survive on community. And I always I got to get away from this. This place is dead anyways. Everyone's here. I got to go somewhere where there's no people. And then you realize that humans are part of the connection for everything that we have and experience. And there's a human even behind the camera that took a photograph of landscape without humans in it. You're there. Your footprint's there. So I kind of acquiesced to this idea of wow, I really do enjoy making portraiture and connecting with people. And it was very quick. I mean, even in college and I was bartending and going to City College, and I started getting asked that people were seeing some of my work, and then they hit me up hey, could you photograph this, our wedding? We're gonna get married. Yeah, sure. And that started happening. And then I did work full time for a studio for about 6 or 7 years. I was a full-time photographer, just doing that. I was doing probably over 3,000 frames a day, sometimes up to three or four shoots in a day. And it was a grind, but I did learn, controlled lighting. I learned working in a studio space, and I learned how to meet and break down those barriers to photograph strangers that, paid or booked, a photo sitting. So, it's been fun. I was shooting and mocking up fashion shoots since I was in City College, 21, 22. Because I just always loved Vanity Fair and Vogue and Esquire, GQ. Mario Testino, Herb Ritts, Peter Lindbergh, and then all the greats, Helmut Newton, all those guys, they were just heroes to me. And I did know at one point that I was like, I would love to do this. I want to be able to move people in a way, at least that these photographs moved me. And it wasn't a literal photograph of, right, a stream or whatever, as you described. It wasn't like a landscape or a rare species, an animal or something like that. It wasn't documentary. It wasn't literal. It was make believe. Fashion and glamour is so make believe. And when you're younger, it's very difficult to kind of separate those two and understand that like this photograph or this content, whether it's an ad, a video, even a blockbuster movie, may make you feel a certain way. It's certainly not reality. It's a augmented reality, and it's a permission to kind of dream. It's a kind of permission to kind of feel austere in some cool way. And I really love that. I love that relationship because I was always dreaming. My head is always just up in the sky, dreaming somewhere. And by actually going there and kind of playing that way, they helped me have more of a healthy relationship with all of that. And so that's kind of how I found my way. It's taken me years to be able to articulate that a bit more.
It was very well articulated. I would love to just shadow you one day and see how you capture what you do. Because like I said, it's so out of the realm in my brain, how to make it and capture the depth and the life that you capture in your portraits. Like I look at a landscape and I can see what I want to capture. I can see the depth I want to capture, or a street portrait or like a street shot. I can see what I want. But when it comes to people, because I have a love-hate, I hate being in front of the camera. Absolutely hate it. It's like something, I don't think there's ever been a good photo of me ever in existence. So it's one of those things, I just hate it. And so I don't know if maybe that's what holds me back when I go to shoot a portrait, because it's in my brain and I'm already thinking like, oh God, I'd hate to be that person right now.
Yeah. You feel like you're worried about like them not liking the photograph.
Yeah.
Right.
And I shot a wedding for a buddy, and I'm like, I was like, oh, I just shot 2,000 photos and I'm guarantee like 1,998 of them suck. And then you feel bad because I'm trying to shoot I'm not shooting like me. I'm not shooting my style. I'm shooting something I don't ever do. So I was like super awkward. I was super out of place, but they seem to love them. So, I mean, that's the thing, is being hypercritical and super, super hard on yourself for the work you put out is a natural trait for every photographer, every creative.
Yeah, I am very critical. I'm my own worst critic, and it's hard, but it's really, really essential to share. It's kind of like Rick Rubin talks about in his book. It's my Bible right here, The Creative Act. If you haven't read this book, this will blow your mind. I've read it.
I believe I just got that
3 or 4 times. It's my 4th read, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, little chapters you can get into, but he talks about that. And he's like, the creative act and by making a photograph or a new music score or whatever you're doing, that's right, your art, but the cost or the price of that is sharing it. You have to get it out there, and it's really important, and it's very uncomfortable for me to share. I don't share a ton of my work. You see some of it out there. I've got my website and Instagram and all that stuff, but there's a ton of work I do that's just, I do it because it needs to be done. There's no other purpose than to do that. And I'm very careful with my words. Maybe we have a couple cocktails and I slip and I say take a photograph, but I use the word make a photograph. It's collaborative, whether it's landscape, a river, or a human in front of you. They're communicating something to you, and you are vibing off of it, whether you know it or not. There's that empath, and as much as you can channel that empath, you're feeling it as well. And that is the process of making a photograph together, not taking something. If you're taking a photograph, I feel like you kind of miss the connection a little bit.
It's very one-sided when you say take.
Yes.
You're taking it. You're not putting the pieces together. You're not turning the Rubik's Cube to make the solid color.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. There's it's more than just a gate. Yeah. So it's more than just the gaze, right? You're actually interacting. It just makes me think of Alfred Hitchcock. What is it, Rear Window, with the guy broken leg and he's got the long lenses and he's looking at the world through, it's very voyeuristic in that sense. And there's some interesting comments made through that video, but it's more about the interaction and connecting. And if you can make more sense of that when you're working with people and doing that, it's so rewarding. And I bet those photographs you did at the wedding were phenomenal. And like, you don't sell yourself short.
The coolest part is there was one moment where I was kind of like, I was in my zone, and it was a beautiful location. It was up in the Chicolton Mountains. We were at this resort that had no real amenity. Like it had amenities. It's amazing food, a beautiful place, but no internet, it had Wi-Fi, but it didn't count because it was so slow. And we're out on the dock where they got married, and the seaplane was coming in to land on the lake. And I was like, how cool, because they wanted pictures with the plane, but it wasn't there. And it came in and landed, so I had them at the end of the dock, and I captured the plane in between them as they were looking at each other, and I captured the mountains behind them, and I'm like, my masterpiece. That's where I felt at home.
That's so cool.
Because I was capturing the landscape, so I was looking at that, not them. And it turned out to be probably one of my favorite photos of the collection.
That's so cool.
So,
yeah. And just I was going to actually add that next, and talk about something, at least that I do when I'm doing portraiture to fashion or whatever. I'm really trying to see the images before they're clicked. Like, the image that I want to make is already in my mind. You just described that. I'd be asking them, hey, quick, hold your hands and start walking towards the lake. And I'd be clicking shots of them kind of walking as the plane's kind of flying into a scene. I'm just starting to play right now, right? You're just seeing images and telling stories the way you want to tell it. And you just got to remember when you give when you play, like, you give a kid a couple toys and they're 4 or 5 years old, they might take a train and run the train underwater, right? Because they're just playing, and then something else is flying, right? And they're breaking the rules, and they're just being kids and freaking playing. Yep. You're just dreaming and playing, right? And then they start going to school and they figure out these rules, and they're like, no, Dad, you know what, trains go on they go on railroads. They don't go underwater anymore. And it kind of kills some of that creativity. Whales can't fly. Whales go in the water. And I'm trying the whole time to reverse what has been done in my mind over these years and play again, dream, and really push the limits of that. If anyone wants to see, if they want to, I don't know, you can, we're all experiencing reality for what it is right now.
Yep.
But maybe I can give you an experience that's different than what you normally see every day, and just kind of tease your brain. That's kind of my goal.
I think you nailed it, though, because if you think about it, the world is a tough place in general. But going through school, and I mean, I'm 51. It feels so weird to say. I feel like I'm 12. So, my wife would probably agree with me on that statement. But I feel like the whole world is designed to beat us down and take away that joyful moment that we all used to have. I used to stack batteries, 9-volt batteries together, because my grandpa's radio, they would die and he would keep them. And I'd use them like building blocks, and I'd make forts out of them. You put them together, and you could build all this stuff, and people would just be like, well, that's not how those work. I don't care. It's working for me right now. Like, I'm 8 years old. Let me figure that out. Let me be me, and there's just so much that's taken away. There's so much that, even listening to my kids now in school, that I only have one left in school, but it's like, they're really trying to push a narrative and a system that takes away that freedom of thinking, freedom of being okay, creating whatever you want to create. Have purple elephants.
Yeah.
Have whatever color you want it to be. Make it fly. Because as you get older, those things will really be able to see in your artistic outlets that you're not afraid to take risks, because you know what? When you were 6 years old, you drew a pink and purple elephant.
Right.
And someone didn't tell you no.
No, Dude, I'm telling you that this conversation, I think, is one of the most crucial conversations to continue on. Like you talked about passing on stories with your kids and your perspective. If I can impart this, if anyone's listening, right? We've got AI and generative AI and a lot of things that are happening that are challenging a number of industries, including photography, right? And the game is changing a bit. Whether you like it or not, it's happening. And there's going to be very soon, sooner than we think, within years or less, like where a lot of work and ads and commercial stuff is going to be done by generative AI. And those photographers are going to have to look for other work. I hate to say that, but it is. And there will be a premium, though, for what you and I at least pride ourselves on what we're doing here, right? Is that fine art and that work that the AI can't do. And it's the photographers that continue to be genuine to themselves. You be you and be very strong with whatever that voice is and keep doing purple elephants. There's no AI that can do that. There's no AI that can do what you do or what I do. So stop trying to be like everyone else and keep doing you.
Yep.
Like play wild. Like just keep doing that. And that's where you stay and keep that edge. Where I think, sure, you can ask AI to do things and be creative in that mind in that way. Certainly. Part of, I think that the creative part of a photographer is that direction and art direction. But yeah, that's what I guess I just wanted to mention that because it's been on the top of my mind recently about how things are changing in that way. And it really kind of continues to encourage me to push that creativity and keep playing.
It's the way you stay young.
Yeah.
You keep that. For a long time, I just didn't care, or I cared too much. You just back and forth between whatever, I'll do whatever I want. And then you're like, oh my God, I can't do that because I care too much. And now after the hospital, when I've said it a few times, it's, I've got more time behind me than I have left ahead of me. So the people in my life deserve the best version of myself. I deserve the best version of myself. So now I'm kind of like, I'm in a zone where I can, whatever I capture, good, bad, and different, it was meant to be captured that day. It was meant to be captured that way. And that's the way it is. I'm trying not to be hypercritical of my work. I hate when I tell myself, or I have imposter syndrome, which everybody says they have. But just because you do something similar to a great, someone that is put on this pedestal as being the pinnacle of our industry, and you look at them and you're inspired by the work they do, and you think you're capturing in that way, the two of you could be standing right next to each other and your images are going to be completely different, because you're going to capture it the way you know how to capture it, and they're going to capture it the way they know how to capture it. While looking similar, there will be distinct differences. And that's the part I have to keep telling myself every time I'm sitting there going, oh, this looks like so-and-so's photo. I can't show it. No, it doesn't matter. Get out, show your work if you want. Don't share your work if you don't want. Do it for you. Create for you, right. And you will create a portfolio of work that inspires the hell out of yourself.
100%. And for the most part, what can be done has already been done, like you said, but it hasn't been done your way.
Yep.
And I agree with you. I've seen it happen. You can, in workshops even, you can have 8 photographers all standing in the exact same spot, give them all the same cameras, and they're all going to make a very different photograph from that. And I think that's what's kind of cool about it. And that's, again, I just love practicing that, is trying to continue to do. It's good to look at, right, that, like you said, that the heroes and those just like iconic photographers in whatever field that is, just to kind of level with that field and kind of understand what's been done or what can be done, right? It's inspiring for sure. But I don't know. It's okay to still chase that.
Yeah.
You're not trying to copy. That's a source of inspiration. Kind of mind opening.
It honestly is. I am a huge fan of the work that Phil Penman puts out. I think Phil Penman captures light and shadow and moments like nobody's business. When I had him on, I was kind of in awe because this is somebody that I inspire. His work inspires me daily.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there having a conversation like you and I are today with this person. And, he starts sharing his own struggles. People think I've made it because of my name. I've been doing it so long, but I hustle every single day, to make ends meet. Yes, I get bigger jobs, and yes, I can make good money doing this, but I've done this now for 25 or 30 years of hustling. Yeah. And I think that's where people miss the point. They see these names, Phil Penman, for example, or like I just had Crystal J. Wright on. She's, she has that episode of Nat Geo, photographers. She has a whole episode about her chasing tornadoes. She won Red Bull Illume. You would assume she has no struggles because she's on all these big platforms, but she shovels stone for her brother's construction company because jobs aren't just flowing to her. She still has to hustle.
Yeah. That was a great conversation you had with her, by the way, too.
And it's just like, there's so much weirdness. You know what I mean? Like, we all have to hustle. We are in a hustle mentality. If we want to be successful and we want to make money and we want to make this a profession, you have to work for it. It's not just going to fall in your hand. It's not just going to be given to you. You may get a big break and then have it taken away because that's just the way it works.
Yeah. You know what, Tyson? I will say that some of my best and funnest times as a photographer has been as an amateur. When I worked, so I shared with you a little bit, I worked in a studio for about 7 years doing that. I was hustling weddings and other portrait stuff. And I felt like I was always photographing I was working for the man. I was doing pictures like for what other people wanted. And it was like in their style. And can you do this and that? And it crushed my creativity, didn't quite work for me. And that episode of that season of my life kind of sunset. And I actually put down the camera for a while, sold all my gear, kind of had a rough falling out for a minute. I was hard up on cash and I sold everything. So it was so rough, dude. Mamiya 7.2, Leica gear, all my stuff, it all went away. And I had to pay back some debt. And at one point I realized I wanted to get back into it because the photography, very much like running or writing for me, is how I cope with anxiety or depression. It's definitely a therapy. It's something I need. It's almost like breathing. It's just necessary. And I decided to pick up a camera again about 3 years ago. And I was like, I'm going to do this. This is something I want to do, but I'm not going to photograph for anyone. I work for no one. And it was great. There was the luxury of being an amateur photographer again. I was like, I'm shooting for me and I'm going to hone in my voice and stop caring what other people think about it. And I'm going to share me.
Yep.
And I kind of sought out some photographers and people that inspired me, including a guy named Parker Pfister, who's now a really close friend of mine, and attended his workshop. And we spent a week together laughing, crying, running and jumping and gunning with cameras for a while. And it woke me up and I felt recharged and look and think and see differently thanks to him, actually. And now I'm doing what I'm doing. I shoot for an agency in San Francisco. I'm working on, commercial fashion deals and started YouTube and building out a portfolio. I've got some other gallery deals that are kind of coming up soon. That'll be exciting to share some more work. And it's because I'm just doing me. And I can say that I'm older now, I'm 45 and I have my other job that's given me that luxury to kind of do that right now. Maybe I could do this in my 20s or 30s again, but now I've got kids, a family, and, I got to keep a roof over the family's head. So I'm diving into this very much more, carefully, I would say.
Yep.
But it's been fun.
And you touched perfect. This shows a lot about the connection between our creativity and our mental health, and you said it. I didn't even I was going to lead us into that question, but you were like, it's my therapy. Having that camera is therapy. And my first ever appearance on a podcast was with Fred Ranger on his visual storytelling. I think that's what it is. The visual storyteller. Can't remember the name of your podcast is. Sorry, Fred. But I said that during my interview, and I was like, to me, finding that camera was the first time in my life after skateboarding left where I was physically and passionately working on something that connected to my brain and cleared all those thoughts of negativity and I'm not good enough and all this junk. It was my therapy. Photography turned into my therapy. And I love hearing when other photographers say the same thing, because it just shows like we connect on such a deeper level besides the mediums we capture, the day-to-day bullshit. We can connect because we all have our own struggles and our own issues. And this little light box that captures an image is like the best therapist you can buy. It's like riding a bike or going for a run. Those are also great therapists for those moments where you are struggling. Because I know when I go out for and shoot photos and I come home, I'm in such a different zone. All the creative spark it's just popping in my head, like bang, 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 bang. And I just can't wait to see what I captured and see what I can share with people. And I just love it. And just throwing myself out there again. This year, I'm all about yeses. So I'm like, if people ask me to do something, sure, let's do it. I've got no problem. I want to work in voiceover work. So I'm like, if anybody knows anybody, let me know, because I have a voice. So let's make this happen. Because if I can do all of these things at 51 years old, where some of the greats didn't even get their break until they were in their late 50s. Life isn't over because you turn 50.
Yeah.
Ask 25-year-olds.
Thank you, sir. I want you in some major motion pictures soon with this voiceover.
I would love it. Honestly, like I would just, I would be in heaven to be able to do that work. That'd be fun. I've been blessed with this weird American Canadian accent, and it works. So like, I just don't know how to do it. I've read for a couple things. I didn't get it, but that's fine because it was an experience.
Sure.
So it's the year of yes. So I've been saying yes to lots of weird things, but I want everybody to know, like, you're never too old to try. Don't be afraid to try. It may not succeed. If you look at the statistics for new podcasts, 98% don't make it to 10 episodes. Right?
Yeah.
Before failure.
Sure.
I'm at 76. By the time I'm done my recording block in April, I'll have a 300 episode catalog.
That's so cool.
Right? With amazing people who are willing to share their story and their journey and their wisdom.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's about building this thing where eventually I want to create like a WhatsApp group with everybody in it. And if somebody's doing something, they aren't sure what they're doing, they throw the question in the WhatsApp group and somebody has an answer. Somebody's been there. Somebody's done it. And it's all about helping everybody grow.
And with the photography, you just got to keep clicking and start doing it. Your first, who said that? Your first 10,000 shots are going to be shite. So you might as well get out there and get them done, or the Stooges. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking until you do succeed, just get into it, man. And, just, if I could share anything as far as like people thinking about getting into photography or starting their journey, it's like, you got to be like, I've made so many horrible photographs. It's not like I'm sharing them. We're talking right now through kind of like that rose colored glass of like, oh, we're doing this and that. But like, again, what you brought up about mental health and everything that's real, that's going on in everyone's life. We all have challenges and struggles. I think photography enables me to negotiate some of those with just a little bit more grace. It's just the tool that works for me with that. And sometimes I'm not always chasing bangers. It's just kind of fun to go click away. It doesn't have to be an epic banger just to have a great experience or have a little therapy moment on the couch for a second with a camera, whatever you're doing. So yeah, it's fun, It doesn't have to always be amazing.
And that's what the acronym for PHYS is: photography heals your soul.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so true. And like I was telling you before, PHYS was a fixed gear bicycle brand. And it used to stand for pedal harder, you sissy.
Love that, dude.
But we went through all the different steps. We had clothing ideas, we had all the drawings, we had everything to do this stuff, but no experience or know-how. And then It just obviously died away because we were young with no money. And then as soon as I started thinking about this, I was like, I have to use that name. Kind of like an homage to not only my friendship with Ryan, but like just it has history. It's been around for 20 years. Mm-hmm. Let's make something of it. And this is where we're at.
And you're making it. Yeah, dude. Here we are. We're talking.
Yes, sir.
I'm changing subjects a little bit, but I got a question. It's been itching me.
Yep.
If there's a photograph do you have a photograph that you want to make that you have yet to make yet? Is there something that's like burning that you just haven't chased down? Maybe there's an obstacle or a goal. What is that photograph and how would you make it?
Oh man. I do. I actually have, there's a place in Oregon called, Otter Banks, at the Devil's Punch Bowl. So it's this crazy rock that's been worn out by the waves. And when the waves are in, it shoots and spits out the hole.
Cool.
Off to the left, there's a very similar photo that I have captured. I've shared it on my personal Instagram. Is this surf break. And it's the most beautiful stretch of water between the cliff and the next cliff. And the waves just run it. And I just picture that at sunset with the beautiful Oregon coast, the lights just firing in their oranges and their purples and their reds, and somebody just catching the ride of a lifetime. But not close up on them. Like I'm talking whole portrait scene. So super wide angle, just capturing the moment.
That's cool.
And how would I make it? I'd get my butt back down to my hometown and make it happen, which is in the works for next year. Part of this project that I'm working on, connecting with creatives.
So I'm taking this as a landscape, not a portrait orientation?
It would be landscape for sure.
Color or black and white?
When it comes to Oregon sunsets, man, it would be full on color.
Cool.
It would be a
full on high fidelity, high. Yeah.
And it would just be, cool. I love to shoot things that people can read into. So one of my favorite photos I've ever taken was of Sliwish Rock here in Vancouver. I'm just going to pretend I don't hear the alarm going off at my shop. Guaranteed that's the owner. He went in again without his phone. So Sliwish Rock, I'm Indigenous, so it has a whole Indigenous meaning. And we had, in my first couple of years of shooting, we had crazy fires coming. The smoke was coming up from the U.S. It was coming in from the interior. Turned the sky into the most crazy red, purple, like blew me away, the colors of the sunset with this rock. And I was staring at it, waiting just for the moment. And I'm like, man, there's a painting by this amazing Indigenous artist. His name's Roy Henry Vickers. And it has this rock at sunset with the Indian chief pointing at it. And I was like, I wonder if I could recreate that in this moment. So I sat there waiting, and it was getting dark. It's a long exposure. And this group of people were standing there taking photos of it. And the dad points his hand out. And I clicked the shutter. And I was like, oh, I don't think I got it. Because there's people going by on bikes and stuff. And I'm like, And I got home and I opened it. And I was like, oh my God, I nailed it. So
that's right.
I'll fire you the pictures in an email, like the one that inspired me and what I took. But that has actually opened the doors with me and the artist.
Cool.
So it's like, try to find moments, man. Like everybody needs to find a moment. Find something that you remember that hit you at a certain time. Like when I was just learning about my Indigenous background, I remember finding that painting. And I was like, I love this. And then I was able a few years later to capture my style, which eventually he wanted to actually recreate his painting through my picture.
That's amazing.
And I was like, dang, this is insane. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Collaborative and kind of retelling the story through your vision or like how you saw it, which is cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Having those goals or having a shot that like, you're like, I'm going to get that one of these days. It's like having, like a riding a race in the calendar in the future. It's like what keeps you training and keeps you getting out there because you've got that coming up soon.
Yep. But man, dude, this has been amazing. This has been a great chat. Where's the best place for people to find you?
They hit me up on my website, SF as in San Francisco, sfevans.com. Or if that's too complicated, I've actually got a second one. It's scott.style.
There you go. I'll put links to both in the notes, man. Any final words of wisdom for everybody?
You know what? No, just stay curious, man. Stay curious and keep clicking. That's my saying.
Love it.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, Tyson. It's been so cool to get to know you a minute, and
same, man.
I appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you too, sir. Like, I look forward to continuing to watch you grow and keep pushing what you're doing. And, maybe one of these days when I make it down through there, like you said, we'll do a barbecue. I would love to have you as part of this portrait project that I'm currently working on. If anybody's interested in what the portrait project's about, it's on my website, thelifeofphys.com. It has its own section. Just read about it. I'm looking for brands to help get on board and back it, because it's going to be an expensive endeavor, but I think it's going to be a worthwhile endeavor.
Yeah, on my website, I should have mentioned, I've got all my socials on there. So if you're curious about kind of what I'm still figuring out the YouTube thing. I'm making fun of myself for the most part on YouTube. That's what I'm doing. So it's been great. But there's, I think, some links to my socials on all that. So
perfect.
Yeah, check that out.
I'll add all that for you. And yeah, anything you got coming up, any kind of projects that you're ready to, you want some extra help promoting, I'm always here.
Thanks, man.
If you ever need voiceover work or ad reads, ask Dave. I did a great job for very good presets.
Heck yeah. No, your voice is great, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to the Life of PHYS podcast. I hope today's conversation brought you insight, inspiration, or just a fresh perspective on the creative journey. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to follow, rate, and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps us grow and reach more listeners like you. For updates, behind-the-scene content, and more, please follow us on all social medias at LIFE_OF_PHYS. And don't forget to check out the show notes for links and resources from today's episode. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep living the life of creativity.